You're listening to I Love It When, and I'm your host, Mo. I'm a speaker, coach, and connector. You're in the right place if you're looking for some inspiration and you're ready to truly embrace who you are. My intention with this podcast is to help you see that you are so much more powerful than you realize. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of I Love It When. I'm your host, Mo, and today I am really excited to introduce you all to LaKiesha Tomlin. So I met LaKiesha actually through email. Someone on her team was emailing different podcasts to get LaKiesha on as a guest, and I get all sorts of random emails throughout the week from different companies reaching out to me with different products and things like that, or different opportunities. And I always take a moment to look at them to see if is there something I might be interested in, or is there somebody that I want to meet? Because a lot of people I meet organically through networking and in person, not quite often just through the email or through random connections like this. But I took a moment to look at LaKiesha's YouTube channel and to see some of videos of her speaking, because oftentimes when I listen to people, I can get a sense for their energy. And if I'm seeing them visually too, that helps me get a sense for their energy and what they're like. And there was something in me that was just like, you know what? This is totally kind of off topic of what I usually have on the podcast, but I feel drawn to check it out and to connect with her and see if it could be a fit. And so we met, and I immediately liked her energy. And I decided to have her on the podcast because everything that I do is all around providing all of you listeners with knowledge and education, and the people who have had an impact on my life and who have had impacts on other people's lives, who have really good stuff to share and things that can expand you and open you up to new possibilities. And LaKiesha is definitely one of those. I know absolutely nothing about trading, nothing about this aspect of making money. And for me, a big part of growth has always been stepping into the unknown and stepping beyond fear and trying new things, because that's the only way we're going to be able to expand and to grow, right? Is to step outside of what we know. And this is definitely outside of what I know. And so I'm really excited to share this episode with you guys. So here's the 411 on LaKiesha. LaKiesha Tomlin helps busy professionals learn to trade the markets in 30 to 60 minutes a day using a simple, repeatable process. P.S. I have to say on the side, the other thing I love about LaKiesha is she's so approachable, and she explains things in such a way that I feel like I can actually understand the concept and what she's talking about. Just had to say that. She's a Yale MBA and former aerospace engineering leader who was laid off and relied on her trading approach to stay steady, cover expenses, and keep moving forward. In 2025, LaKiesha generated over $100,000 on the side from the markets while working full time. Along the way, she turned $20,000 into roughly $100,000 twice and used trading to fund two extended sabbaticals. Through her YouTube channel, Chart Confidence, LaKiesha teaches clear decision making, fixed dollar risk per trade, and how to trade without living in front of the screen. She's been featured in the Wall Street Journal and Forbes for her work in finance and leadership. Her message is simple: you don't need to quit your job, build a process, manage risk, and let trading create more options in your life. So, in this episode today, we talk about her journey in aerospace as a leader, what led her to trading and how it started for her training, how trading gave her the ability to take two different sabbaticals, and then why she teaches now and talks on the topic often. All right, so enjoy this episode. Can't wait to hear what you think. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of I Love It When. I am really excited to introduce you all today to LaKiesha Tomlin. LaKiesha, thank you so much for being here today on the I Love It When podcast. I almost said the I Love It When show. This is so funny. Like I'm a show host. But thank you for joining us.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here, Margaret.
Cool. Can you start us off by just sharing a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name is LaKiesha Tomlin. Thank you for the introduction. And essentially, I have been working in aerospace defense as an engineer and a leader for almost 2 decades. And it got to a point at some point in my career where I decided where I wanted to have some additional income on the side, and trading or investing was that vehicle for me. So, since about, I would say, going in about 2016 and just getting really serious and really understanding things, like I've been able to use the funds from trading and investing to take two professional sabbaticals. The first one was basically just filled with travel. I stayed in Europe for a couple of months and I went there mostly to learn French, so French speaking countries. And
Okay.
basically, they just gave me some cushion. And then the second sabbatical was basically getting the opportunity to finish my MBA at Yale. I went through half of the program in the executive format and decided, what would that look like if I was able to take the second year off completely. So I set a goal, I reached that goal, and I was able to have enough money to take off for almost 2 years. And before having to return back to work to get some more money. So now
Amazing.
yes, and now I show people exactly what I did while I was working full time in order to build my understanding of the markets because it's not as scary as people make it. And it's something that's sustainable. It's something that fits a busy schedule, and I share that with people inside of my program. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Uh, Now I'm sure I'm going to mention this in the introduction that I record later, but I'm going to say it again for you folks that are listening. You might be like, Margaret, this is so completely, it's like such a different topic from what you usually have on here. But I just want to say part of the reason why I felt drawn to have LaKiesha on here to share this is because I really want to encourage all of you that are listening that to think outside the box and to also explore topics that you might have some fear about. And for me, this, I told LaKiesha, was one of them because it's literally a foreign language to me. And what I've learned over the course of my life is that whenever I have a little bit of fear about something, as soon as I start to crack into it and get to know the language behind it and why, as soon as I get in there, it's like all of a sudden the fear goes down and I'm like, oh, this is totally understandable. And so I love how you're making this so accessible for people. And so, for those of you that are listening, I want you to continue to listen to this episode because I want you to be open to the idea that perhaps this is something that could really add to your life and really shift something. Um, can you share with us a little bit more about what you did before trading? You'd mentioned in your introduction, but what does it mean? Like, with your job, what did you do or what do you do in
Yeah,
aerospace?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So essentially, I started off my career working as an intern at a really large aerospace company that everybody has heard of. And essentially, it was a really cool opportunity for me. And I was doing that while studying mechanical engineering. And I just kind of fell into the field just because where I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, there were other companies, but the industries really didn't interest me like airplanes. So, I went ahead, got the internship, and just worked in aerospace, mostly defense side, for at this point almost 2 decades, which is crazy to say. I actually started when I was a teenager, so I was 19.
Wow.
Started and just continued and took a break to go to Silicon Valley and work at one of the largest electronic companies that you definitely heard of. So it was just really cool to, just to get all these different experiences. And like I said, as I was working and leading teams, mostly engineering teams, I knew that there were other ways to build some sort of stability, just because at any given time, sometimes in the aerospace industry and in others, there are these like boom and bust type of periods where there's a whole bunch of hiring and then it slows down and then sometimes there's layoffs. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to be subject to that, or at least, if I was, I had some sort of way to make sure that I would be okay
Hmm.
and not have to rely on something like unemployment, which I'll take it, but it's definitely usually not enough for people to sustain their lives. It's basically just like a little bit, every little bit helps, but I wanted something more substantial.
Hmm. Okay. And was that mostly male dominated, that industry, when you entered it and when you've been in it for these last 2 decades, was it mostly men that you're working around?
Oh my gosh, yeah, absolutely. And it still is for the
Okay.
most part, but there are women out
Okay.
there that are crushing it as engineers, program managers, etc. So I love seeing that.
Hmm.
And there's more of us. We're there. But
Hmm.
essentially, yes, I remember being an undergrad and on the mechanical engineering track. there was myself and two other women out of a class of maybe 25. It was a small class, but still, three out of 25, that's not a lot.
Hmm.
So it's just, always been that way. And then when I did my internships, sometimes I was the only woman on the team or one of two women on the team. And, that just like I just realized in that moment, that's just going to be the norm
Hmm.
of, just working in a male-dominated field. And I
Hmm.
was okay with that.
Hmm.
And, I did my work, I did what I needed to do and progressed through the ranks. And yeah,
Yeah. This is not a question that I had on my outline, but now I just feel prompted to ask you because
yeah, go right ahead.
uh, that, I mean, it's such an awesome story. How did you shift into being in leadership in that field? And did you find that it was a struggle being a woman working with and leading men, or did it actually happen more like seamlessly than you thought it would?
That is really good. So, yes, it was challenging for sure. And one thing that I knew coming out of undergrad was I wanted to go into management just because through the internships, I got exposure to a lot of different areas.
Okay.
So, I ended up working, at least out of college, working as a flight test engineer. Basically, it's a really cool job. It's as cool as it sounds. So basically, I was responsible for this jet that was,
Okay.
at that time about $55 million. And it was a lot of responsibility, a lot of talking to a lot of people all day. But it was one of the funnest or the most fun jobs that I had as an engineer for sure.
Okay.
But anyway, I knew I wanted to go into management, so I just started to develop myself. I didn't wait for the company to pay for training, even though the company did pay for some training, but there were other things that I did on my own, like Toastmasters. I did that and some other professional development and leadership development programs,
Hmm.
and just started to build myself, I built the leader that I wanted to be, or at least I formed myself into that person
Hmm.
just over years. And I just started to apply. And I remember I was applying at first to there were three different levels of management. So I was applying to like level one manager jobs and I was not getting callback at
Hmm.
all, like none. So then I was like, what if I started to apply to level two manager jobs? I got so many calls.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
like, okay, so I guess it'll be a level two manager. So yeah, I got so many calls and just interviewing, getting good at interviewing, and eventually I got to the point where I had two offers. One was contingent upon a contract award, which that's very common in defense type of jobs. So, and that would have been really cool, but I already had an offer. They were ready to go. They wanted me to start yesterday at that point. So I took that offer and yeah, just kept progressing up. And in that role, there were zero, zero women on my team.
Wow.
So
Okay.
it was very interesting. But most of the guys were really cool. There were just two that were just a handful. But the
Okay.
rest of the people were really great.
Okay. Was there anything in particular that you did to help yourself like speak up in that environment or speak out, or did you have you always been someone that like didn't have a problem speaking up?
Ooh, that's wow. So for me, at times, yes,
Okay.
it was it was hard to speak up, especially because sometimes in those environments there are people with really strong opinions, and basically they're usually just like the loudest, not
Hmm.
necessarily the most powerful, but
Yeah.
people hear the loudness and it
Yeah.
tends to make them back down.
Hmm.
However, I grew up in North City, St. Louis, and it is not at times it's not the friendliest area to
Okay.
be in. I will say that. So growing up in that environment, it really did it made me grow up kind of fast
Hmm.
actually, and just, be, this person where, if I didn't like something, I would speak up. And, like I said, it wasn't 100% I was speaking up all the time, but,
Hmm.
my upbringing and stuff like that. And then being the oldest of three,
Hmm.
definitely, always being in a leadership type position in the household when my mom was working or,
Hmm.
had a second job or even going to school, whatever it was, I was the person in charge, basically.
Hmm.
So, at that point, just to show dominance in the household, like I'm the big sister, do what I say type of thing. And that didn't always go over well, but I learned a lot, from those experiences. So I was
Mhm.
able to translate those experiences from, childhood and adolescence to the corporate world. And basically just, what I found is that just being authentic and just, meeting people where they're at. So that, I mean, that just really goes a long way. And I've just continued to do that throughout my entire career so far.
Mhm.
And people really respect that.
Mhm. Mhm. Thank you for sharing that. That's definitely, yeah, not everybody listening. That's not something I had on my outline, but I think it's really important to note because I think I've definitely been in situations myself where I've had to teach myself how to
Mm,
speak up, and I know there are people listening who will find this inspiring because there's all sorts of situations that come up in life, in work and outside of work, where you need to be able to speak up and say your part. So thank you for
yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
Was there Hello, I love it when listeners. I have a special announcement for you. The Unplug from Fear retreat was a huge success, and thus we are hosting another one in February 2026, and tickets are already live for sale on my website. I have never experienced a retreat like our first Unplug from Fear retreat just last month in September. I felt so invigorated, energized, and excited. I knew I wanted to set the date for the next retreat as soon as I woke up the next day. This has never happened to me before. This retreat will be February 27th through March 1st at Kindred Healing Space in Everett, Washington, and will have the same speaker lineup with Enmei Mangels, Crystal Novak, and Kai Bertrand. Tickets are $15.55, and there are a total of 12 spots available. You can go to iloveitwhen.org to purchase your ticket today and check out the testimonials from previous attendees and speakers. I cannot wait to see you there. Was there something about your job in particular where you were exposed to trading that then led you to open up to the idea of trading, or did you just kind of happen upon it?
Oh, that's interesting. So I remember being in college where one of my best friends, like I didn't know anything about the stock market at the time, but he said that he made something like $1,500 trading, or not really trading, but putting money into Google. And
Okay.
mind you, this was like 2005,
Okay.
2006 time frame. So and I was like, wow, that's really cool. So I may have looked at something like Yahoo Finance back then, but then didn't open it again. And it wasn't until about, I want to say like 2000, no, it was like 2009, 2010, where I actually put money into the stock market. And I was interested in personal finance because at that point I graduated from undergrad. 2008 obviously was a really big thing. All you kept hearing
Mhm.
was gloom and doom. And I was just trying to figure out, okay, well, how can I educate myself on what's happening? So I started with personal finance stuff, budgeting, all of that. And then once I got to a point where I had a good budget, then basically I took some more time to figure out, okay, well, how can I grow this money that I'm saving? Because you look at the interest rates on the savings account and they're basically nothing. So
Mhm.
it's like, I can't get rich off of this. Like, what can I do? So I started just doing some light reading, and just over time, like I said, putting the money into my 401k around 2010. That was like the first like real investment because I could see the money leaving my paycheck and going there, which was quite a bit. But it was 2011 when I actually bought my first stocks, and
Okay.
during that time frame. I had done some research over the past year and was looking at Apple. I bought 3 shares of Apple because that's all I could afford at the time. It was something like $1,100. And that just really just fueled my interest to continue to learn because after a while of not looking at it and coming back and it's like, whoa, I've made $500 on this and I didn't do anything. Like that was fascinating to me. So it was just basically just looking for ways to grow my money. And then at that time, I also had a lot in student loans. So I was like, okay, how can I pay these off
Okay.
faster? So it's just like all these like things of starting, in the real world, out of college and trying to figure out, okay, how do I make this money last? Because I mean, I was making good money as an engineer as you can imagine. But on the East Coast, the money goes doesn't go as far as it does in the Midwest. So it was very challenging, and I was trying to find ways to basically grow that money and grow it in a way where it wasn't I didn't feel like it was super risky.
Hmm. Hmm.
Ooh, oh wait, did I answer your question? I feel like I kind of like
Oh no, yeah, you did definitely. Yeah,
okay.
I was just looking at my list to see what I should ask you next. Okay, so you didn't have any prior experience. Were there any doubts or fears that you really had to work at before you invested in that first stock?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So it took me a good 5 years. Like I said, my friend told me about the money that he made
Yeah.
in around 2006 time frame, and I was too afraid to put money in. And I
Hmm.
remember, and I wouldn't say regret it, it just was what it was. But I remember when I was an intern, the company that I was working for, they encouraged us to put money into retirement. I did not. So I was like, imagine if I would have put in just $100 or, every pay period at 19, like how amazing that could have been.
Hmm.
But I hesitated. I was scared. I didn't really know what would happen to the money, and I just didn't put money aside because I didn't know. But then, like I said, fast forward to maybe like, 2009, 2010, where I'm doing research, more research, and then, actually buy some stocks on my own outside of retirement. Then it's like, okay, like this is not as scary as I made it in my mind for all these years. It's like all these years, like I could have had money into the market, but now I know better. Like, let's see what we can do. That's basically what
Hmm.
my mindset was.
I love that. Okay. And you've talked about this a little bit already, but if there's anything else you want to add about how generating this income has changed your life. I mean, just flat out being able to take those sabbaticals, I'm totally having FOMO over that. That's like, yeah, that's, I think, for a lot of people, just opening up freedom and space and time.
Yeah, so I didn't even have the concept of a sabbatical when I first started
Hmm.
investing. I was just, like everybody, I just work, take a good vacation here and there and be totally okay. But
Hmm.
it was something I saw, and I don't even know how I got on this. Basically the YouTube, rabbit hole that you jump down into. But I remember at this time, it was probably like 2015, I had moved away from the Midwest into a new job that was a promotion. And I remember finding this video of this woman who was about the same age I was. She was working in government in DC, and she quit her job, packed up her stuff, and moved to Hawaii. I was like, what? Like, how do you do that? And so I started following this girl. I read her book. And basically, one of the concepts, if I'm remembering this correctly, she said that she knew that she wanted to live in Hawaii. That was her life's dream. And she knew that it was possible because she saw other people do it. And she just started putting money aside. So she had her job, and then she had a side hustle where she was speaking, and then she was selling little products and coaching and mentoring on the side, and just putting all of that towards her fund as basically a freedom fund. Actually, I just recorded a YouTube video on that today, but basically her freedom fund where she knew how much money she needed in order to walk away from the job and be secure. And I can't remember her exact time frame. I think it was maybe a year, maybe 3 years. But I was thinking, okay, if I wanted to step away from my job for, let's just say, a year and travel, I didn't have that whole gap year thing. I had to work. I
Hmm.
went straight to school. I didn't have, parents that had a whole bunch of money. I was on scholarships and grants and all those things. So I had to be continuous with my schoolwork. So I didn't have the opportunity. So I was like, okay, well, as an adult, I can make some money and I can have my own gap year. So that's kind of what I was thinking about. And I remember in that time period, I started looking at like my skills and stuff. So I started doing like, or at least I was considering career coaching at that time. And I started doing that. And that didn't really bring in a whole lot because I was like still like no one knew who I was. So it was like, hard to like try to like get out there. And I
Oh
was like, oh,
yeah.
I can do, speaking and stuff like that. Same problem. Looking back, I could have handled that differently. But one thing that was on my list of ways to make money was the stock market because I knew that from years earlier when I bought those 3 shares of Apple, I think at that time they had a stock split. So basically, what that means is if you have one share, they may do a 5-to-1 split. So if you have one share, they give you four additional shares. So you have 5 shares. And it's the same amount in dollars, but it just looks like you have, I mean, you just have more shares. So it could be, let's just say if ABC company, you had $1,000 and you had, you bought one share and they had let's just say a 10-to-1 stock split, they will give you nine other shares. So you would now have 10 shares. It will still be worth $1,000, but you have 10 shares. So,
Mhm.
and they do that in order for more people to buy into that market because if it's cheaper, then it usually attracts more people, not always. So, anyway, the stock market was one of those ways. And I remember around this time period, just looking at Amazon, not really taking any actions, but just looking like, I want to get into Amazon. And I remember it being 9.90 a share. I bought five shares, and that was a lot of money for me at that time. I mean, it's still a
Mhm.
lot of money, but it was a really like large amount for me
Yeah.
at that time to be able to take 5,000, put it into the market and be like, I hope it goes up. Like, but it did go up. I mean, it's Amazon. Everybody knows that
Mhm.
story, especially since I got it in, I think that was like 2016.
Okay.
And I remember just like looking at it and it was just going up. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to take any profits and pay myself back. So I got to the point where I sold about two shares years later, sold two shares and that gave me back all my money. I was like, great, now I can just let these ride. So, and that's exactly what I did. And like I said, trying to, get to the point where I took a sabbatical, it wasn't like I had the idea back in 2016, but I didn't actually take it until 2018. So, a little bit over 2 years later, basically I was working in Silicon Valley. I had a job that I really liked, but I was just incredibly burned out, like so burned out. And I was just like I so happened to like look at my accounts, my investing accounts. I remember this vividly. It was a Sunday. So a Sunday afternoon, I'm just laying on my couch, like, oh, let me check my at the time TD Ameritrade or whatever. So let me check my account. And I was like, I have the number that I said that I need. And then I
Wow.
started doing some math real quick and I'm like, I got more than my number. And then literally a week later, I put in my 2 weeks notice.
Wow. That must have felt just amazing to put in the notice and feel like, I don't know, total freedom.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah, when I put in the notice, I mean, it's like, looking back, of course, we could have done things differently, but I just felt like in that moment, that's what I needed. I just really needed time.
Hmm.
And, maybe the sabbatical wasn't the best thing to do. Maybe just like, an extended vacation or something, but I just felt like I needed it. But yeah, when I put in the 2 weeks, I remember coming home and just feeling like I have nothing to do. Because my boss said, like, yeah, we're not gonna make you sharpen pencils. Like, just finish up whatever and we'll pay you for the 2 weeks. I'm like, great. And so I went home and I hooked up an old gaming system and I was just playing, I think it was like Sega or something. It was just playing video games. It was so relaxing.
Oh, that is amazing. So, what got you to this place where you decided you wanted to start teaching and talking about it?
Yeah, so that for me was probably more scary or scarier than actually like taking a trade or putting
Okay.
money into some company. Just because, I mean, with all the content that's out there, everybody seems to know a lot of things, a lot more than I
Mhm.
do. And I was just like if they can figure it out, I can figure it out too. And then once I started to really listen, and I'm like, I actually know more than some of these people.
Hmm.
So let me just, try it. And it wasn't like in that moment where I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and do it. No, it took some more time for me to actually do it. I remember sitting down with this coach. She was somebody that I followed on what? No, it wasn't Instagram. It was somebody that I followed on YouTube and LinkedIn. And then she had this thing like get a clarity session. I'll help you with whatever. I'm like, okay, great. Why not? So anyway, so I signed up for it and we were talking and I told her at this point, mind you, I was on my second sabbatical. And so here I am, two sabbaticals and not really. like thinking I knew enough to be able to talk about finance. So she got me together really quick. She's like, she's like, okay, you're on a sabbatical right now with money that you made from the stock market.
Yeah.
Like, don't you think you need to talk about that? Like, people want to hear about that.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, you know what? She's right. Like, what am I waiting for? So I just made like a couple videos. Like they were like really basic. I think they may still be on YouTube. I think I may have taken them down. I don't know. But this was around 2021 time
Okay.
frame. And then I just like took a break because there were other things that I was learning that I wanted to like really work out. But I did have a couple of students at that time in this program where basically I was just showing them what I knew at that time from the stock market and how I was able to basically put this money aside because they were also interested in like, okay, maybe I don't want to leave my job, but if I just want to have money to the side, what did she do? And of course, none of it is financial advice whatsoever. It is just my personal opinion. So, and things, and just basically sharing things that I did. So I had that program. People that went through it had success. And basically, I was just like, okay, well, fast forward to about 2023. I got to a point where I was trading and like really understanding trading. So for people who don't know, investing is more of long term. It's kind of like the Warren Buffett mindset where you just buy it and you just hold it forever. So that's more so investing. But trading is more of where you may buy something, say it's a company you like, but you're only holding the position for maybe sometimes a couple minutes, a couple of days, couple
Okay.
of weeks, sometimes a couple of months. So I was really getting into trading, and I had this I was in this executive coaching program because at this point I went back to work, and I was in this role for about 6 months at that point. And I told her like, hey, this is like I really want to talk about finance on YouTube. I kind of started and then stopped. And then basically she also got me together. She said, like, if you really want to do this, then like why are you not doing it? She's like, you have all of this evidence, all of this proof that you know what you're
Mhm.
talking about. And people that you've worked with, even on a smaller scale, have gotten results. Like, why are you not talking about this? So she's
Mhm.
like, either you're gonna do it or you're not. And I was like, yeah, she's right. Let me go ahead and do it. So so I did this one YouTube live. It was horrible. Like there was no like there was buffering so like they could hear every other word and like
Oh,
the
wow.
video was kind of terrible, but people gave it a thumbs up. So okay, maybe it's not so terrible. And from there, I was like, okay, well, this, people liked it and people talked about the audio, of course. It's still on YouTube. But it was a
You
start.
did it. Yeah.
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 I was like, okay, great. So I would like to say that from that moment, I started making YouTube consistently or content consistently, and that was not the case. It was actually a few months later where I started to make it more consistently. And now I have been making content consistently on YouTube since I want to say that was like February 2023. And, now we're here in 2026. So wow, going on 3 years.
Yeah. 3 years. And that takes a lot of consistent effort of like showing up and doing that work. It's amazing. Hello, I love
Yeah.
it when listeners. I want to take a moment to share with you something that I've added to my daily routine that is changing my life. It's about the size of a Band-Aid and it's called LifeWave. If you struggle with stress, pain, or sleep, these might be something you want to try. LifeWave patches are non-medicated and made of organic materials. Therefore, no substances like chemicals or drugs enter the body. And using your own body heat and light, the patch reflects your own light back into your body and can improve skin appearance and confidence, enhance sports performance, improve mental clarity, help you to relax, improve your sleep, better manage stress, support a healthy cardiovascular system, and more. I'm personally using them right now to heal the varicose veins in my legs, which have gotten progressively worse in the last 10 years. You wear them for 12 hours on, 12 hours off. I put one on when I get up in the morning and then I take it off right before I go to bed. I highly recommend checking out the Eon and the X39 patch to begin with. The X39 patch is the world's first and only patented technology that uses a phototherapy system to improve strength and stamina without drugs or stimulants. The other thing I really appreciate about LifeWave is that they've made it very accessible. You can get started for as low as $100 a month and see the impact on your health. LifeWave has been around since 2004 and has over 200 patents as of March 2025. If you're curious about how this technology could help you, check out the link in my show notes or on my website and reach out with any questions. I have also officially started a team, so if you're interested in selling these patches as a part of my team, I'd love to connect with you about it. Can you walk us through, because you did this when we had our initial meeting where you walked me through, for someone who's never done something like this, like um, what would it look like to do my first trade and how would I do it? And how did you approach the very first one that you did? Like, I know you told me about how you kind of walked through your house to see, like,
Yep.
what products do I buy? What do I
Yep.
even, yeah. And I love that because it's very practical.
Yeah, and that was actually, so I can't take full credit for that idea, but I was in a master's program, my first master's program at Johns Hopkins, and there was this financial accounting class, and the professor said when she's deciding what company she wants to buy, she looks in her closet. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. And then when I got
Mhm.
home, it was like, okay, let me look around my house. And I saw like I had an iPhone, there's an iPad, iMac. I'm like, okay, Apple is it. Like that's what I'm investing in. I'm already buying the products. So that's how I decided what to put my money in first. The very first stocks that I purchased was in Apple. And I mean, it's been doing phenomenal ever since. So definitely a great decision. However, when it comes to other people choosing what they should pick, I mean, that is one of the simplest things I think that people could do. I mean,
Okay.
I wasn't looking at like numbers or like charts or anything when I made that decision. I was just like, I like the company. So that was it. And it was my decision. So I also knew that if, at any point I wanted to take my money out of the market, then I could. Because, I mean, the way that things are set up now, we don't have to call anybody to get our money out or anything. It's literally a couple clicks and we're done. So I love that. And, that within itself should, have, or at least should make people feel reassured in some kind of way that if, like, say if you change your mind, it's okay. You
Mhm.
could click a couple buttons and then you got your money back. Click a couple more buttons, the money's back in your checking account or wherever. So that's basically how I picked the first few stocks.
Okay. I love this. Can you walk us through like what the first step would be for folks that are listening that are like, okay, I'm kind of intrigued. I know you have a program where people could join to like work with you directly to do something like this. But yeah, what would there be? What would their first step be?
Yeah, so the first step, I like to tell people to like just figure out what trading is. And it's not hard. There's one of my favorite websites, and I share this a lot. It's called investopedia.com.
Okay.
So when I was learning a lot about the stock market, I was literally going to investopedia.com to understand the terminology because I
Hmm.
know that that can be very confusing for people. The language that's used in finance is kind of ridiculous in the sense of it's it sounds hard, but it's not really hard.
Hmm.
If you break it down to the most elemental, like fundamental way, then yeah, it's not hard at all. So investopedia.com is
Okay.
is the site that I used a lot when trying to figure things out. Next, once you get familiar with some of the terminology, I don't want people to think that they have to be perfect and know everything because that's hard, and I still don't know everything. But if they understand, how the stock market works, there are some articles and videos on that website in order to explain that as well. And if they're beyond that, then what I encourage people to do, because I did this myself, take a small amount of money that they are comfortable with losing, just assuming that it goes to zero, not saying that it will,
Hmm.
but take that and buy a share or two of your favorite company. And that's just one, in my opinion, a couple of low risk ways in order to get started if they've never placed a trade, if they never bought a stock, just to get started. Just because I see, like, I talk to people, in like people in my family, friends, and stuff like that. And, people will be like, oh, I don't like I don't have any shares, but they consume these products all the time. They go to these stores. It's like, why are you not a shareholder? Like,
Hmm.
and it's usually for some of these companies, like the shares are way less than how much they're spending at the store. Or,
Okay.
if they totaled up how much they were spending in any given month for these products, the shares would be way less. So, and you could get money back through a dividend potentially with some of these companies as well.
Hmm. Okay. Can you tell us a little bit more about your program that you offer and what that looks like for people who join?
Yes, absolutely. So at this point, I have a flagship program. It's called the Profitable Traders Academy, where essentially it's an opportunity for new or traders who have some sort of experience where they can get my direct guidance and feedback. We have people starting at all different levels. And I
Okay.
love the group. It's a very intimate group, and people are, helping each other so that way no one feels lost. I love that, the cohesiveness of the group is very intentional how I built it. And I just love the group. So that is at profitabletradersacademy.com if you all
Okay.
want to check that out. And the other one is for beginners only. It's called the Trading Launchpad. So
Okay.
it's literally exactly how it sounds. If you know nothing about the markets, then the Trading Launchpad has everything you need in order to get familiar. And I'm in there, of course. It's all these are hosted on school and
Okay.
at this moment, and I am there helping and answering questions as well. So
Okay.
either of those you can't go wrong, but these are, really safe ways to really understand the market, to get focused, especially
Hmm.
because there's a lot of noise out there, especially
Oh
on social
yeah.
media.
Yeah. How often do you meet with each of those groups? Is this something where you guys are meeting weekly or monthly or?
Yeah, so with the Trading Launchpad, we meet in person or over Zoom, of course,
Gotcha.
once a month. So we're
Okay.
actually meeting tonight, and then the Profitable Traders Academy, we meet twice a week. So at the
Okay.
beginning of the week, just to kind of like give a game plan, or at least I share my game plan with them, and then midweek, kind of like a check-in, share my game plan. We meet tomorrow.
Okay.
So I meet with the Profitable Traders Academy more frequently, and I found that people generally like, more touch points with me, so they join the Profitable Traders Academy, even if they're on the newer side of trading.
Okay. Okay. And do you have like when you join, is it for just a month or however long they want to join, or do you recommend a certain time frame?
Yes. So that's actually a really good question. So for the trade-in launchpad, with that, I have an annual option and then I have a monthly option.
Okay.
And I tell people that at least
Okay.
3 months, so that way you
Yeah.
have time to go through everything and at least get something out of it.
Yeah.
Like, like sometimes people will sign up for things and only like stay for a month, but then
Yeah.
are not actually consuming anything. They're not
Totally.
participating, and it's like,
It makes
what
a
are you
lot of
doing?
sense. Yeah.
What are you
Yeah.
doing? So yeah. So like I said, for that program, at least three
Okay.
months. But then the Profitable Traders Academy is an annual program. So we work
Okay.
together for 12 months. And,
Okay.
and I love that because it's usually people who are like, I'm going to figure this out no matter what. And I'm going to have LaKiesha help me out. So that's how that works.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that you offer this. And because I think one of the reasons I felt drawn to have you on the podcast too is because you are different from other people that I've seen speak about trading. You're, I think, one
Mm,
of the first people where I feel like, one, you feel very approachable, like I could ask you any question and you wouldn't make me feel stupid. And
yep.
two, you also explain it in such a way that it makes sense to like it makes sense to someone who has not been in that industry or that arena really. Um, okay, cool. I always like to talk to people too about their intuition on my podcast. And so I wanted to also ask
Yes.
you, how do you use your intuition when it comes to, I guess, anything in life, not just trading, but do you find that intuitively you're led to do different things or even just to trade with different companies?
Ooh, yeah, absolutely. And I feel, a level of intuition for a lot of different things. So, for instance, just, meeting new people, if the vibe is like a little off, then it's like, no, like, this is where this ends. Like, so in that sense, and then also, if let's just say, there's something that I saw that interests me. Like I talked about the woman who packed up her stuff and moved to Hawaii. Like, I really like that woman's vibe. So like I participated in her programs.
Okay.
I went to a live event, met her in person. She was really cool. And, just, in that experience and being in the room, there were a lot of like-minded people. So I've met some really cool people from that.
Okay.
And, just, just I like to lead with, I like to let my curiosity lead the way. And I
Hmm.
believe that intuition is, of course, part of that.
Hmm.
So, yeah. And then in the markets, it's basically just me just focusing and looking at a market for, a week, 2 weeks or whatever, and just seeing if I like it, doing some research. Like that's a whole other thing. But over time, you do build up some sort of intuition about the way the market is going to go in a
Okay.
short amount of time. Like, like for instance, I was looking at Tesla earlier today, and I was looking at the chart, and I was like, this is gonna go up. And it like looked like it was going down, and then like I came back and then it like went up. And I was like, "Up!" I knew it was going up. So, because of the intuition that I built with looking at that market or markets like it over
Hmm.
time, like it gets to that point.
Hmm.
Warren Buffett has a lot of intuition when it comes to
Hmm.
the things that he has looked at in the past because he's, studied similar things to it, and that's how I see intuition.
Hmm. Okay. We also talk about how people get intuition or get messages through whether it be something they hear, see, feel. And I'm curious how you receive your intuition and messages and things like that, if there's a particular way that you do.
Yeah, so for me, it's more things that I see.
Okay.
I like to see, see different, people and situations and just to basically see what's possible. So things like podcasts, like this is great because you
Hmm.
learn so much from different people and just their experiences. And, like I talked about the woman, like I saw her on YouTube and it's like, I mean, I listened to her story
Hmm.
and yeah, it was just, it was like, wow, this is what's possible. So, yeah, usually like listening to podcasts like this or interesting conversations on YouTube, those are usually ways where I get inspiration
Okay.
and like build that sort of intuition based on, what somebody has said. It may trigger a thought or a feeling, and
Hmm. Hmm.
sometimes I just roll with it.
Okay. Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. Where's your energy focused right now currently? Are you I guess, yeah, where are you planning on building out this business that you're developing with teaching and speaking about trading? Or is this something that you think you're going to continue to do kind of alongside your career still?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question, especially because when it comes to trading and investing, a lot of people see, people with, mansions and Lambos and stuff. And yes, that is totally possible depending on the skill set, 100%. However, for a majority of people, I mean, you have to work up to that. And like me, I'm not at Lambo money yet. And
Hmm.
so for me, and I enjoy teaching, I enjoy speaking. So these are things that I want to continue to do,
Okay.
especially at this point, and I want it to be something that's alongside of my career. So at this point, I'm currently like looking for a new position. I mean, I just
Okay.
had an interview yesterday. We'll see how it goes. But basically, um, I'm looking to continue to build alongside a career.
Okay. Cool. Cool. Is there anything else I should ask you that I haven't asked you yet today?
Oh, wow. I feel like we talked on so many different topics today
We
and things
did.
and like things that I haven't thought about in years, which is excellent.
Yeah, no, I love this is such a great introduction to this topic, and you've totally got me thinking about the Trading Launchpad or the Profitable Traders Academy because I definitely think this is not something that I've really explored as something that could totally add to my life financially. So thank you for sharing everything that you did.
Yes, I appreciate it. And thank you. I'm glad that we, were able to make this happen and, just
Totally.
introduce a newer concept to the listeners. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I always like to ask everybody before we end, what's your current I love it when, either for yourself or for the world right now?
Mm. Okay, so right now, the thing that is really on my heart to speak about is actually I love it when people have access to information that could empower them financially.
Hmm.
That is the mission of why I do what I do, is
Hmm.
because I want people to have the information and know how to use it and not be intimidated by the language or the jargon that the financial industry has. I mean, like I
Hmm.
said earlier, it's not hard, it's just presented as hard.
Hmm.
And once we could break through that
Yeah.
and really understand what's happening underneath the surface, we could be successful.
Hmm. Totally. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for your time and your energy today.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Margaret. This was great.
Yay.